Hi, my name is Lisa Robyn Wood and I'm the founder of Grip Corporate Coaching. In this little video today, I'm talking a lot about being flexible and the art of adapting. I think this whole situation with COVID-19 and the pandemic has really forced us all to be more flexible and adaptive than we've ever had to be before. I think from the moment lockdown started, we were forced into a situation none of us had experienced, and that caused a lot of us to have to change the way in which we were living and the way in which we were working, whether that be that home became our workplace or whether we were furloughed or worst case scenario, we lost our jobs. It caused all of us to rethink how we lived and what our day-to-day lives looked like. Some of us will have remained working, but in a completely different environment and having to look at home as office, which I think in itself presents challenges. And in other instances, not just becoming a worker from home, but also potentially a full-time carer at home and even a teacher if you have children. So the whole situation forced such a huge amount of flexibility and adapting in a way I don't think any of us have ever experienced. Being flexible is a key part, I believe, of being resilient. And I think it's always been a huge requirement of leaders and managers in the workplace. I recall so many occasions of being a manager in my career where I was expected to flex and adapt, whether that be to changes happening around me or whether it was just about adapting to my audience at any given time. I think when you're in middle management especially, you're expected to be something to everybody, whether that be the leadership above you or whether it's the people you in turn lead. And so I think being flexible has always been a key skill and requirement of a strong leader and a strong manager. I think it's understanding how best to do that, because I think to survive and be successful, it's always been about flexing. And I think one thing that's always been so helpful to me to be able to navigate change and to navigate being flexible has been really clear about who I am, what is important to me, what my purpose is, what my motivation is, what my role is in an organisation, and ultimately, therefore, what I'm there to do. Because I think when you have that clarity, you have an anchor to keep you grounded, so that as much as there is change going on around you, and a lot happening and many different people you're trying to navigate, you're always clear in your own mindset as to what you're all about. And I think that enables you to remain centred and to not get lost when so much is happening. And I think it's also really important to be clear with your own expectations and your own standards, because that way you get the balance right of flexing and adapting to what is required, but not being pushed around and not losing that vision around what really you're trying to achieve. I think as we progress further through this current situation with the pandemic and the lockdown measures start to ease, it's clear that things are not going to go back to the normal that we were all accustomed to before the 20th of March. And I think that constant focus on remaining flexible will enable us to have the strength and the resilience to get through this. I think elements around being open-minded to home working is important, and it's clear in a lot of the press that's being released that people have really found having the capability to work from home to be a very empowering experience, and it's enabled them to have a lot more work-life balance, and they feel trusted. And trust is such a huge part of people enjoying their job. It really helps to increase employer engagement and people being loyal to their employer. So home working, I think, is going to be remaining to be crucial, and in many ways after this lockdown as a necessity for people. That's what they'll seek from employers as a standard rather than a perk as it has been previously. I think, again, looking at that whole piece of adapting and listening to employees and what they need, and a focus on their well-being will remain critical as well. As well as looking at different ways to engage with people, especially if people remain working at home as offices see the lack of a need to reopen, as well as learning, and all of that I think is going to be key for businesses to move through this successfully. So if anything I've talked about has piqued your interest today, if you're keen to talk further about it, and if you're keen to learn about how Grip Corporate Coaching and myself can really help support you in any of these areas, then just give me a shout using the details in the commentary below this clip. Thanks.